2019.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Right? The roadmap to wellness.
Yeah.
I go to Ontario Shores on the 6th of March, 2020, announce the roadmap to wellness, and I'm with Christine Elliott, the Minister of Health at the time, and the whole audience, all the media was there, and they start saying, this virus that's going around that we keep hearing about, do you think it's something serious? And so we were basically talking about COVID-19.
Right.
Well, 1 week later, it gets declared by the World Health Organization as a global pandemic. And so all the work that had been done to establish the roadmap to wellness, at that point got parked. COVID comes in, and we spend the next 3 years focused on trying to keep people alive and safe. In that time, though, because of the fact that we had to become innovative as to how we did services, one of the things that I can say, because if there's ever a silver lining about COVID, I always say it's this. It forced us to look at virtual solutions because we couldn't have in-person meetings. So by having the opportunity to put in place virtual support, so we started virtual cognitive behavioral therapy sessions. We did, because at the same time we did structured psychotherapy. It was one of the first programs that we brought in when I was brought in as the minister. We started doing different types of services. We augmented the services through kids' cell phone. We did more work to establish the way the systems deliveries, we started establishing them. And we also started looking at programs that could actually help, not just the people with addictions and mental health, but what we could do to intervene to help young people. Of course, the study started coming out that this cohort of kids will not be socialized and will be entering school having missed the first 3 years of in-person socialization and education. So what's that going to look like 5 years down the road? We're just starting to see that now, the results of that. So we started looking at different types of programs. One of the things that I was really interested in early on was, because again, as the minister, I have a budget, and you have to look at how those investments get made. There's the money that has to be invested to help individuals that have addictions and mental health issues, but you also have to look at what can I do to prevent the growth of this business, because what happens is if you don't start intervening young, right, that cycle will continue. And we know that 70% of the mental health issues that we are dealing with today could have either been diagnosed and treated before the age of, during adolescence, before the age of 16, 14 actually. So what do we do? And then, so the focus on trying to build a system that looks after people, that became a priority because there were so many people hurting. But in the process of doing that, we also started looking at what can we do with education and prevention. And so you heard through the education system that we've embedded now 3 years of giving kids the tools they need to support their mental health, right? 7 and 8, I believe 9 or 10, I can't remember the third. But basically, we've got now mental health literacy built into the curriculum. And that's one piece. The other thing that I'm really proud of is youth wellness helps. You know, when I started, we had, I think, 1 or 2 that have been piloted. As of the last investment, we got up to 32, 23 of them are functioning now. The last 8 will be coming on stream before the end of this year. At 17 of these, we had 160,000 visits, 63,000 unique individuals.
Wow.
To give you in 1 year. Which tells you that if you build it, they'll come.
Yes.
The outcomes are staggering. They're staggering because these kids, where would they be going? I mean, if this didn't exist, where would these kids be going? You know, they'd be in the parking lot. And you know what they'd be talking about in the parking lot? Things that are not going to take them anywhere. Why? Because they don't have boundaries anymore. What you've done here is establish boundaries. You're giving them parameters. You're showing them that there is a hierarchy You're teaching them simple principles of respect. You're giving them hope. And without hope, you can never have a person become and grow in a positive way. So the work that I've done in my doctorate really focused on a residential therapeutic community model. What that is putting people in a safe space. What are you doing here? Putting people in a safe space. The only difference between that model and this one is they get to go home here. There they don't get to go home because that model is a 2-year closed system. So in that 2 years, the first 6 months, they do not talk to anybody other than people in the community. They start building bonds with each other, right? Now what happens here during the time that they're here? They're building bonds, they're building relationships, they're building family, right? And those, and I can go on down the list, but I call those the active ingredients of a therapeutic community. And more work that I do is bringing me back to the fact that these are the active ingredients that should be instilled in our schools, in our community centers, in our families. Because if you have these principles coming back, what you're in fact doing is defining, right, the parameters, the boundaries, whatever you want to call them. I use the word boundaries because it's a very technical term in psychology, and it delineates, right? It delineates relationships from a professional and client basis. But that same term boundaries implies the teaching of rules and a standard that a person lives by, works by, and these are all characteristics that are going to be useful when a person gets a job, when a person interacts with someone else in the community, right? And it does